Right, so ready to get those hands dirty and create that dream garden you've always wanted.
Always wanted one.
I know that feeling like wandering through the garden center, completely mesmerized by all the colors, and boom, suddenly your cart is
Like,
overflowing.
if the colors just get you.
But before we, get ahead of ourselves and buy all the wrong plants again,
Yeah.
let's talk about how a little planning can save you a whole lot of heartache.
And money.
And, yeah, maybe even some money.
That's right. Sometimes it's really true. The most beautiful gardens come from the most thought out plans.
Exactly. And to help us map out this plan, we're actually going international today.
Ooh la la.
I know, right?
It's true. We've translated an awesome audio/video from state source language titled State Title of Source Material.
I love how this source dives into the nitty-gritty of planning.
Yeah, they do.
They even use the phrase really dedicate when talking about watering, which, let's be honest, is where I tend to fall short.
Yeah. Really dedicate. They weren't messing around.
They were not messing around.
But I mean, you bring up a good point. The source seems perfect for those of us just starting out.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever felt intimidated by gardening, this one is for you.
100%.
Yeah.
I've totally been there. My garage is practically a graveyard of impulse bought plants.
Oh.
But this source breaks down garden planning into 4 key questions.
Oh, okay.
They call them the quote-unquote pillars of your garden's success.
I like a solid foundation.
Yes,
So important.
absolutely. And the first pillar they hit on is all about timing.
Okay.
They make it clear that understanding your local climate and planting at the right time can make or break your garden.
It's like literally, we're talking saving entire plants, even your whole garden from wilting away.
Yeah, you're right. Imagine spending all that money on, that gorgeous new plant,
Ain't it?
only to have it wither and die because you planted it at the wrong time of year.
The worst.
Heartbreaking.
The absolute worst. And speaking of heartbreak, let's be honest, we've all been there. I'm embarrassed to admit how many times I've bought a plant based solely on its looks,
Yeah,
without a thought to whether it could actually thrive in my garden.
the plant just spoke to you.
It did. It did. But this source doesn't just tell you what to do, it tells you why it matters,
Exactly.
which I think is so valuable.
And that's what makes this source so valuable.
Yes.
So getting back to timing, they specifically point out 2 ideal periods for starting a garden, at least for those of us living in 4-season regions.
The first is early spring, after the last frost has passed.
Okay.
This gives your plants a chance to establish themselves during milder weather.
Got it. So no more tropical flowers in the snow for me.
Definitely not.
No more.
And the second ideal planting time they emphasize is late summer to early fall, around August or September.
I mean, really? Why so late in the year?
It might seem counterintuitive,
It does.
but planting then allows the roots to develop before the ground freezes, leading to stronger growth come spring.
Wow. I never thought about it that way. It's like giving them a head start on the next growing season.
Exactly.
I actually had a gardening mishap a few years back because of bad timing. I was so excited about some beautiful sunflowers.
Sunflowers, a classic choice.
Right, they just scream summer. Anyway, I got so caught up in the moment that I planted them way too early in the spring.
Oh, no.
And then we had a late frost,
Yeah.
and, well, let's just say my beautiful sunflowers never stood a chance.
Ouch. Yeah, a late frost can be brutal on young plants.
Brutal. Live and learn, right?
Live and learn.
But this source emphasizes learning from those mistakes and planning accordingly,
Yes.
which is what we're all about here.
Right.
So ready for planning pillar number 2.
Bring it on.
All right, this one really resonated with me. The source calls it defining your garden's vibe.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
It's about more than just choosing pretty plants. It's about creating a space that reflects your personality and lifestyle.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about asking yourself, what kind of space do I want this to be? Do I envision a peaceful retreat where I can unwind after a long day? A lively spot for barbecues and gatherings? Or maybe a haven for pollinators with buzzing bees and fluttering butterflies?
All great options.
Right.
And this choice isn't just about aesthetics. It influences everything from your plant selection and layout to the overall design and feel of your garden.
It's true.
Yeah.
And the source gives some great examples of different garden personalities,
Okay.
which I thought was a fun way to think about it.
Yeah.
They mentioned an elegant garden, which I picture with perfectly manicured hedges and a sophisticated color palette, maybe even a water feature.
Ooh, very fancy.
Right, total serenity.
Oh.
Then there's the rustic garden, which feels more relaxed and inviting, maybe with a mix of flowers, herbs, and vegetables, perfect for families and those who love to cook.
That sounds amazing. Fresh herbs, right from your garden. Sign me up.
Right.
Yes.
And lastly, they have the free-for-all approach, which is all about embracing a more natural, less structured look.
Okay.
This one is for those who love to experiment and see what happens.
I love that. It's like giving your garden permission to just be itself.
Totally. It's about letting your garden reflect your own unique style.
Hmm.
So which garden personality speaks to you? What kind of vibe are you hoping to create in your outdoor space?
That's a great question for every listener to consider. And it leads perfectly into the next planning pillar from our source material, which is all about creating a focal point.
Okay, this is where things get like visually exciting. The source talks about having a star of the show in your garden. Think of it like the centerpiece on a table. It draws your eye and adds a sense of structure.
Exactly. I think of some great examples like a bubbling fountain, a striking tree or plant, even a dedicated dining area. Imagine like you step out into your garden and boom, your eye is instantly drawn to that showstopper.
I'm already picturing a gorgeous Japanese maple as my focal point.
Ooh, nice.
But I love that the source also talks about gardens without a central feature.
Yes.
Like you don't have to have a star of the show
Not at all.
if you don't want to.
They highlight the beauty of a more free-flowing exploratory design. This approach is great for those who enjoy a sense of discovery and surprise as they wander through their garden. Imagine paths winding through lush greenery, unexpected pops of color around every bend.
It's like your garden has a life of its own.
It does.
So many possibilities. Okay, ready for the next pillar?
Hit me with it.
This one is huge,
Mm.
especially for someone like me, who admittedly sometimes forgets to water their houseplants.
Oh, no.
It happens. The source is straight to the point on this one. They ask how committed you are to garden maintenance,
Right.
especially watering.
Yeah, no sugarcoating.
No sugarcoating. Right.
Because neglecting watering is a surefire way to sabotage even the most well-designed garden. It's like forgetting to water a houseplant only on a much larger and potentially more expensive scale.
And they're not just talking about like day-to-day watering either.
Hmm.
They emphasize thinking ahead, especially when it comes to vacations.
Oh, yeah.
Picture this. You're returning from a relaxing getaway only to be greeted by a garden full of wilted, sad-looking plants.
We've all been there.
Been there. That's why the source suggests considering automated irrigation, especially for larger gardens or thirstier plants like lawns.
Yeah, especially lawns.
Speaking of lawns, the source didn't seem too enthusiastic about them.
Yeah, they're like water hogs.
Right.
They highlight that lawns require a lot of water and can make it tough to cultivate certain plants nearby, especially those that are more drought tolerant.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's all about balance. They suggest considering alternatives like ground cover or pathways to create a more sustainable and water-efficient landscape.
Makes sense. And speaking of things that make sense, pillar number 5 is all about location.
Just like with real estate.
Right. The spot you choose for your garden can make all the difference.
Huge difference.
Absolutely. And the source reminds us that sunlight is a key factor. You really have to pay attention to how much different areas of your garden receive throughout the day.
Yeah. Are we talking full sun, which means at least 6 hours of direct sunlight? Or partial shade, which is around 4 hours? Or maybe full shade, which might only get an hour or two of direct sunlight?
It's almost like choosing the right lighting for a room, you know,
Totally.
but for your plants.
Yeah, and just like you wouldn't put a sun-loving cactus in a dark corner, you don't want to put shade-loving ferns in direct sunlight. It's all about like working with your garden's natural light conditions.
Okay, so we've got timing style, a star of the show, keeping things hydrated and finding the right sunlight. What's next on our garden planning checklist? I feel like we're finally ready to talk about plants, right?
Almost remember this source is big on planning. With all those considerations in place, it's finally time to think about choosing the right plants.
Yes.
But as always, our source has a word of caution for us eager beavers.
Oh, lay it on me.
They really emphasize the importance of like researching and selecting plants that are genuinely suitable for your local climate. They use the example of succulents, which are incredibly popular
Oh
right
yeah, succulents are everywhere.
but they often struggle in colder climates with like harsh winters.
Another hard-learned lesson for me. A few years back, I fell head over heels for these adorable succulents. They were all the rage, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Only to have them turn to mush after the first frost. It was a massacre.
It happens to the best of us, but it goes to show how important it is to choose plants that can handle what Mother Nature throws at them.
Right. No more forcing a square peg into a round hole plant-wise. And it's not just about winter hardiness, is it? The source makes a great point about considering all seasons, not just the current one. What thrives in your summer garden could become a soggy, drooping mess come winter.
So true. And on the flip side, some plants need a period of cold dormancy to really thrive. So
Uh,
yeah, understanding your local climate and choosing plants that are well suited to those conditions is absolutely key.
okay, so to recap, before we even think about buying a single plant, we need to have a solid plan, timing style, focal point watering location, and making sure those plants can actually live in our climate.
It's like building a house. You wouldn't start with the paint color, would you?
No way.
You've got to lay the foundation first.
Exactly. And those 4 planting pillars from the source material, those are the foundation. With those in place, we're well on our way to creating a garden that not only thrives, but also truly reflects our vision.
Hmm.
And who knows, maybe even saves us from some plant buying heartache down the road.
Absolutely. And think of all that money you'll save by not having to replace plants that weren't the right fit in the first place.
Music to my ears. But seriously, this deep dive has been eye-opening. It's amazing how much thought goes into a successful garden, even before a single seed is sown.
It's a testament to the power of planning. Taking the time to consider these key questions can make all the difference in creating a garden that brings you joy for years to come.
Absolutely. So as you dream up your perfect garden, I'll leave you with this final thought. How can you use your garden space to not just grow plants, but also to cultivate a specific mood or atmosphere? A tranquil escape, a vibrant social hub, a haven for pollinators. What kind of a space will your garden become? Let us know. We'd love to hear about your vision. Share your thoughts or plans with us on social media. And be sure to tune in next time when we'll be taking a deep dive into stunning garden designs that beautifully exemplify these planning principles. Until then, happy gardening.